Just record and start.
Wait.
Can you record this right now?
Legislative session 2024 for the state of Utah. Let's talk about that today. And then let's also talk about caucus and convention. But legislative session today is the last day.
Yep.
It has been going on for 45 days. It started in mid-January and ends today, March 1st.
And the 2:00 session is going on right now. Now.
So let's talk about session
Okay.
and just a little bit about what it is. Session is, so each state has their own legislative session, and according to their own state constitution, when they will have those sessions, for how many days. And this is Utah's turn, time, where our lawmakers, our legislators, present bills to the House of Representatives and to the Senate, and if they pass there, then to the governor, hopefully to be signed, into laws. So this is where new laws are made or old laws are repealed. And many of these bills are sponsored by ordinary citizens who go to their elected officials and say, hey, I have this idea, this is happening in our community and I don't really like it. Can we create a bill to help fix this problem? Their elected official talks to them, councils, they go to their litigators, their attorneys, to see if they can draft something up, looking at all the laws and making sure that it's within the boundaries of the current laws and code. And then they bring it to session. Comes to session, the bill receives a bill number and goes through a series of steps to basically vet it out before even getting to the governor's desk, whether to be signed or not. Just because it makes it to the governor's desk doesn't mean that he'll sign it. So session goes for 45 days, and it's just a repeat of this happening of a bill going, the life of a bill. So why don't you talk about the life of a bill?
I don't want to talk about
Okay, I'll talk about the life of a bill.
Go ahead, talk about the life of a bill. How long is the life of a bill?
Well, it can be very short depending on the bill.
Well, I thought you just talked about the life of a bill because you were just talking about how they go about doing that. Oh.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So a bill is introduced. It's introduced to the floor, which could mean that it's just read on the floor. And when we say floor, that's either the Senate floor or the House floor. And then the bill is sent to different committees to decide where it goes from there. And the committees will decide if it goes to, like if it's a bill about farmland, then it'll go to an agriculture committee. Or if it's about education, then it'll go to the education committee. And the committees are made up of legislators who have been assigned to those committees. And they will, why are you laughing?
I'm sorry. Just
it's so funny.
Nothing. I was just like, I hate podcasts. I'm sorry. We're gonna keep this. Okay.
So it goes to committee, and the committee members basically vet it out, and they go through the lines. Well, so the sponsor of a bill will come with a presentation of why this bill is important, and they'll come with some expert or some witness to speak in behalf of the bill, and then they'll just kind of dissect it, and then then they'll vote on it. If it makes it out of committee, then it'll go to another committee, or it'll go to the floor to be voted on, and then it'll go to the next chamber. If it doesn't make it out of committee, then it doesn't make it out and it dies, or it could be held in committee, or it could be tabled.
They could move to the next item, which is another way of just kind of avoiding having to deal with the bill. That doesn't mean that just because like if they vote no on it, I'm assuming that they have that they have killed the bill.
Yeah.
But I have seen bills be resurrected at a different time, and I'm like, I thought you were gone. why are you back?
Yeah. Or if a
So-
bill does die in committee, the sponsor can come back the next year with the revised version,
Yeah.
and offer it again and go through the same process. So that's legislative.
Or they could even
session.
revisit it the same session. I saw that this session.
So each chamber has, so the House of Representatives, they have a speaker who basically is like the conductor, making sure that everything moves along on the agenda and calendar. And then in the Senate, you have the president of the Senate.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And this year, Utah has a new Speaker of the House because the previous one is now running for U.S. Senate. Okay, so bills. So I followed the first half of the bills that came out, which were like maybe like 400 bills, and then after the first half of session, then more bills came out, and I didn't follow any of those because just time with other projects. But Leah has watched session every single day.
I have. I mean, and when you say that you that you followed the first half, that doesn't necessarily mean that just because I was watching it every day that I followed every single one, because I was in and out of different committees. I had like my tabs were open with all the different committees that were going on, and depending on the one that I thought was interesting, I'd go into that one. So it wasn't always I was watching every single committee. No, I wasn't doing that because I am only one person, and I mean, I may have multiple thoughts running in my head at the same time. That doesn't mean that I can be in the same place at the same time talking about specific bills.
Yeah. Well, I got a question for you, because I know that you often speak in committee, right? So if you aren't able to get up to the Capitol, they have a Zoom link that you can participate and raise your digital hand there, right? So what happens when you come across a bill that you haven't heard before, but you find that you're invested in it and you want to say something? Like, do you get nervous? Okay, so what is that thought process of like, I need to say something, and how do you find what you want to say? And because some committee chairs will give you 3 minutes and some will only give you 1 minute. And some, like someone I will not name, you have 30 seconds.
I like him.
Anyways,
I really like him.
So how do you find the words to convey
what you're wanting to say? I find that I mean, like, I think this year I sounded probably less educated in my responses.
Why do you say that?
I may have come across as sounding like I was less educated because I was like, do you not know how bad our economy is right now? We can't afford to do this kind of a thing, so saying something like that, but not necessarily providing solutions to an opposition that I may have to a bill. Like if I oppose something, I can at least provide an idea or something else that can be helpful, but that wasn't always the case for me.
Yeah, but you say that, but I have also seen and know of legislators
who do the same thing
and have not read every single bill, but are still taking a stance.
And even just understanding the words a little differently. I don't even say wrongly, but differently, in the sense, in a way that it just kind of, I think a lot too could be the fact that maybe when we get emotionally driven, that we look at words differently. I don't know if you do that. Do you ever look at words, like when you're angry about something and then you read something, it's like the things that you end up taking out of whatever passage you're reading, it's like that justifies how I feel, or this is why I'm upset with you because of this piece of writing that's right here. I think that's kind of what I saw happening in session, and even my own situation. I've even spoken in committees before where I was wrong, where my understanding was wrong about something, and I was corrected about it later, and I was really grateful for that. Like for example, there was a bill dealing with state employees working. I mean, that there was a bill to encourage not tenure, but to keep people employed who are by their merits, not by their term of having, not for having been there for so long. Does that make sense? And so it's like, and so you're not getting comfortable. But I was against the bill because I didn't understand. I was reading it incorrectly, and so the state auditor sent me an email and explained things. So like, oh yeah, okay, I see why I was wrong.
Yeah, but who wouldn't read something wrong when you have so many bills to read and such little time to read? And how maybe this is like a ask for me for those who are legislators and sponsors to any future bills, if you could like create videos about the premise and the soil of your bill as it's getting ready for session.
I think some of them are. I think
that
some of
would
them are
be
doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Because like you said, like when we're reading through a bill, there's just so much genealogy because that's just like part of the one of the conversations that has been that has taken place.
The problem is
that we don't know everything that has been said.
Well, yeah, but I think
the context
that there are some. I mean, there may be some legislators who are not tech savvy, who don't use social media much, who don't, have these conversations. I can think of a few of them.
You're gonna say their names?
No, that are probably older than
than
Gen X.
Yeah, but but I think that is reckless to me at this point. That kind of like, so I'm not social media tech savvy. You know this. My sister forced me to join Instagram, and I did it because it was another way of sharing the things that I care about. That's the only reason why I'm on Instagram. And if people are not doing that, especially in those kinds of positions where they impact an entire district or a populace of people, that's reckless civics to me. Like, you need to learn because you are representing the digital generations now. It's not just generation, it's generations.
See, but here's one of the things that okay, now we're going to go totally off topic, because I think that there may be the expectation of a voter. Okay, I expect you to keep me informed. But at the same time, I think it falls upon us as citizens to actually do the work to reach out and say, hey, please keep me informed. Just because you voted doesn't make you, doesn't mean your work is done.
How do you, is that kind of a hard sell? Like getting people to like, okay, now go do the work? Because I think once people like turn in their ballot.
Well, what is the work? What is the work? You said go do the work. What is it?
The work is follow-up.
What's follow-up?
Is, okay, I voted. Now, like, how are you creating legislation? Like, what is the next step from here? Basically, you become their shadow. That to me, that's the work of, you said this during your campaign. Now, what steps are you taking from here? And whatever events or legislation or policies or issues that you stand on, to me, they would be congruent to what you talked about during your campaign.
But what does it mean then? I mean, like, so then by that explanation, what does it mean to you to be civically engaged?
So it means,
does it mean it's like, I voted?
Yeah.
Is that
for
it?
me, no. So I track all of my elected officials on Facebook and Instagram, and follow their committees on the sites, as well as on whether in person or if I'm watching on Zoom. And I just do that with every single person. What?
So you follow them?
Yeah. I follow them and I make sure that their word and actions.
Just on Instagram?
No, on Facebook or on well, let's take, for example,
who's your rep that you follow?
So my rep, so my House rep is Rosemary Lesser, and she is she took the position of Luana Shirtliff when she passed away. And she's a Democrat, and so a lot of the Republicans are trying to unseat her. And anyways, one of the ways to follow her is during session. You can find out what bills she's sponsoring, and reach out to her through email or through text or through her intern, and then also through interim. Interim is just the time outside of legislative session. So there are many ways to be civically engaged. But mostly I think just building a relationship with those people so that they know, like, hey, I'm not just a number. You know my name, and you know that I'm going to ask you questions and show up. Make sure that you're doing what you said you were going to be doing. What would you say it is for you?
To be civically engaged? I mean, well, it's certainly, I don't know. I think there's so much to it. It's not just.
I agree.
It's not just something that.
Well, because
it's not just voting.
Yeah,
I
totally agree. And actually, I try to talk about that all the time because it's also making sure that our house is in order, and that I'm also, like, my own Te Anu is in order, that I'm taking care of myself, because how can I take care of the things around me if I'm not also aware of the things that are closest to me? Yeah.
I mean, like, so I follow my representatives, and some of them are, I mean, actually my House and my Senate representatives are pretty good about keeping people informed. That doesn't necessarily mean that just because they're keeping me informed that, well, that's really good. I'm just so glad that you're telling me that that's what you're doing. But how are you voting on things? How, where do you stand on issues? There's a lot more to it than just, because it's kind of sometimes being with, listening to elected officials kind of reminds me of my kids when they were little. It's like they would tell you the things you want to hear as a parent. I'm going over to my friend's house. What they didn't say was, I'm going to go to the store, and I'm going to go to the mall, and I'm going to go swimming, and I'm going to go to my friend's house. But as long as I hear, I mean, like, as a parent can hear, oh, I'm going to my friend's house. Oh, you're good. You're fine. So when I hear elected officials say, well, I've done this, I've done that, it's like, what are you not telling me? What are you not saying? And you find the nots in session.
Yeah. I really appreciate your civic engagement, Laz, up at the state capitol during session. It makes me, I don't know if you ever feel this way where you're like, I want to be there, and I want to be there, and I want to be here, and they're all important. So how do you, like, prioritize things that are all equally important? And sometimes I feel like a fail.
I feel like that all the time.
And, like, session is every time. I'm grateful session is each year because it makes me feel like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit better this year, and I'm going to do a little bit better this year. But I feel like you've been pretty consistent.
But I mean, like, I've been failing at a lot of things. It's like, I'm still frustrated that I am not able to do that. Or, I mean, like, and even when I want to speak to a specific issue or a specific bill, the time for public comment was already over by the time I got to it. You know what I mean? Or I was waiting in line to get into public comment online, and the chair of the committee would say, I'm only taking one comment, and then I think, oh good, it's my turn, I'm gonna speak, and then he picks Sally. It's like, okay. Well, after all that waiting to not have anything happen, I mean, like, so those are things where I think, maybe I should go to the Capitol more often.
Yeah. I definitely have some things that I wish that I would have done different this year, like checking the second half of bills that came out, and paying more attention. But it does give me a lot of comfort and hope to know that there are Leahs there.
No, just because I'm there, that doesn't mean that I'm doing a great job.
But does it need to be? What does that
but there's
mean,
like, how many ordinary citizens are actually doing that? I'm not doing a great job. There are so many committees that are meeting at at the same time. There's so many committees that are meeting at the same time, and so many bills being discussed at the same time. They're all going at once. You're just listening for the time that you get public comment, that you have your opportunity to speak. You miss it. I miss it a lot. And there are just times, to me, it's so frustrating. It's kind of like having, it's like going to, for me, sometimes it's like going, just like being in a hurry to get somewhere. and then you're hungry at the same time, and you cleaned your car, but then the bird pooped on the window, and you're just kind of agitated, and then you just don't get anything accomplished. So it's like, okay, this is how I feel. It's because you just never, there's never there aren't enough people
Yeah.
to
I think you
to be
do
there.
great, Leah.
So,
I think one of the things that I really want to,
and then you're late to everything. So it's like the bird pooped on my windshield, my food is cold, I got a ticket, and I'm still late.
yeah.
That's kind of the feeling, but I don't know why for some reason I keep staying at it. Maybe because there's things, it's nice to see that there is fight somewhere.
But isn't that the mana of freedom and liberty? Is that you stick at it? I mean, like,
Yeah.
has anybody been great at it?
No. Not even the elected officials.
Yeah.
I think they're all doing their best too. I really believe that they believe that they're doing their best.
I'm glad that you say that, because I do need that reminder, because it's really easy to get emotional and be like, you're the enemy, and I'm going to take you down. But I don't know all the conversations that they've had. I don't know all of their constituents that have approached them with this issue, that really care about it and have their own life experiences around it. One thing that I like wish for myself for a session, and I think just really anything, is that I'm really staunch about just speaking in real time and just listening to my heart and my mind in real time. And speaking in committee, I like to have my thoughts in order, and they are like, woo, all over the place, and then I look like an imbecile, and I hate that, because, and it's not because it's embarrassing to me, but it's because I feel like I have so many people that I'm representing that I want to represent well. And it's like, Joseph Smith was a pamphlet, and I'm just like,
and I too know.
Yeah. Like, it drives me nuts, because I'm like, did they get the message? Did I even say anything that hit the heart and the mind? Like, that's something that, one of my dreams. Okay, so what was your biggest lesson from session this year?
The biggest lesson that I learned from this is that I really want to go to the interim. I was like, oh, I can't believe that I even care, but I want to know where these bills.
And what is the
from.
interim?
The interim is like the in between, where the laws are hatched, decided, they're debated and discussed. Here are some of the issues that we have that we're gonna, let's put some bills forward to help with whatever situation comes up. I guess, I don't know, but I really want to understand the interim. Also, I want to understand really, really well what the role of federal government is, what the role of state government is, and what the role of local government is, because they're not all the same. And
it feels like the lines bleed a little bit.
Yeah, I think that they've been blurred for quite some time, and I don't. So, like, if there are problems in the state that I think that should be done at a federal level, why is the state taking care of something that I think the federal level should be taking care of? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, to protect our national safety. I mean, like, is there a difference between national safety and state safety? Is there? And local safety, like your local city? What does that look like, and what are the rules for all of that?
One of the things that I've learned is that I really need to get back to my own districts. And you're so good at this. Like, your representatives know you so well.
No, I don't think so.
And for me, I'm closer with other representatives from other districts. And just listening to you talk, it was just kind of that slap in the face to me of like, why haven't I sat down with Representative Lesser or Senator Milner and talked to them about, like, hey, what are we doing, family? How are we taking care of our community and people? I haven't done that. And
also, what I want to understand is, I mean, like, I hear elected officials say, well, I've heard from so many of my constituents. I'm thinking, have you really? I'm like, so maybe people are being civically engaged and reaching out to their representatives, but are they just more the organizations, or are they ordinary people that are actually reaching out,
Yeah.
And so I wonder about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And also, I think that's a great question for people just to think about, what does it mean to be civically engaged for you in your own home? If you never go up to session, if you never meet with your elected officials, how are you civically engaged in your own home? What statutes and principles are you teaching within the realms of family, between parent, child, sibling? To me, that's actually even more important than session, to be honest. I mean, that's the most important session, and that's
The family
day.
unit. Yeah, the family unit is the most basic place to is the basic place to have civic engagement.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't make any sense, contact us.
Yeah. Okay, so let's use that to go into Caucus Convention. Caucus Convention. I don't know why I said that.
Caucus night, right? So caucus night is Tuesday, March 3rd, 5th, March the 5th.
Well, I was
such a busy time.
Yeah, and JP's gonna be here. Jordan Peterson's gonna be here. I'm so sad.
Same day?
Yeah.
That's such a busy day. My husband goes into the hospital that day for a doctor's visit.
Yeah. So we have caucus on Tuesday. That's this Tuesday. And everybody, well, at least in the Republican Party, and do you know of any other parties that are also like
the Democratic Party has their caucus night as well, but I believe
they're also getting ballots, aren't they?
I think that their ballots, I want to say, and maybe if you're a Democrat and you live in Utah, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I don't know, but I think I have a daughter who's a Democrat, and she received a ballot in the mail.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that the presidential preference poll for Democrats is done via mail.
Yeah.
But there is still a caucus night where Democrats have, I mean, they still hold their caucus night. So in the Republican one, we are going to be electing officers, your local officers in your own precinct.
What is a precinct?
A precinct is a group of people in your neighborhood
and
a group of people in your political neighborhood. I mean, you have just neighbors who probably are of the same political party.
Yeah. And the boundaries have already been delineated.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and according to Utah statute, there are 1,200 per precinct.
Per precinct. Mm-hmm. How many precincts in Utah?
I don't know how many precincts there are in Utah, but in my precinct, we have 31.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. We're Ogden 34.
And we are House District. Oh, I'm not going to tell you. You don't need to. Okay.
Okay, so we go and we will be voting on officers. So there is a precinct chair. Mm-hmm. And what is a precinct chair?
Pretty much a person who does whatever they're supposed to be doing in the party. Right now I'm a precinct chair, and I'm currently cutting up paper for ballots for the different offices. I've been trying to advertise. Have I done a good job of that? Probably not.
And precinct chairs, depending on the counties that you live mm-hmm. in, have different rules that they
play.
Yeah, so in my county, at least, our precinct, well, let's say in Leah's county, their precinct chairs get to vote at county.
We're state and county delegate. Yeah, we get a state and county delegate,
which I think is really cool. But in my county,
so why don't you work on that and amend that?
Because remember
I know, but then you're back in, so
yeah.
You're gonna
go.
We'll
see.
You can probably ask about
that. So you have precinct chair, and so I was precinct chair 2 years ago until I unaffiliated, and basically what I did was just try to rally my precinct and talk about candidates that are running. These are their platforms. These are their meet and greets. Mm-hmm. What do we think as a precinct as we send out our state and county delegates to go vote on behalf of our whole.
And then they come back and report to their precinct.
They're supposed to.
I was supposed to.
Yeah, they're supposed to.
I tried.
So at caucus, you'll be voting for a precinct chair, for vice chair, for secretary, for state delegate, for county delegate. Mm-hmm. And they'll go through the, platform, Republican mm-hmm. platform. I don't know how it is in the other caucuses.
Yeah.
And then this year we'll be voting. We have presidential preference. Can you explain that?
The presidential preference poll is, if I am thinking of this correctly, this will be Utah's opportunity to tell the rest of America where Utah stands on who they choose for president to represent them in the presidential primaries coming up this summer. Yep. And then whoever wins in the primary gets to go to the general election.
Yep. So there are a lot of those primaries going on in the country, right? If you've been watching the news, you've probably seen that. Anything else about caucus?
No, it's a lot of work.
Okay, what about convention?
Convention, there's county conventions. So during county convention, you have county officers, so like your county commissioners, your county clerks, your county auditors, your county assessors. That's who you'd be voting for. In the state convention, you'd be voting for people like your state senators. Oh, also in the county, you have your house district, your legislative district officer. In the state convention, you have your state senators, and that's not the same thing as the U.S. senators. The state senators are the ones that are representing your neighborhood in your Senate district. You have in Utah, we have House districts and Senate districts, and we have House representatives and state Senate representatives for the districts, for those Senate and House districts. The U.S. Senate also is up. So you have your senators, you have your governors, you have your attorney general, you have your state auditor.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what
state
else.
Treasurer.
So anything with state in it, that would be a state convention thing.
Yep. And in order to, and you don't actually even have to be voted in as a delegate to attend, right?
No, you can. I mean, anyone can.
Anybody can attend. Which I think is pretty cool because I think
you just can't vote, but you can attend. You can attend to watch. I think it's a
great opportunity to take, like if you've never been before, go with your children. There are lots of people giving away lollies and free stuff. It might be an incentive for them.
Are you eating sugar right now?
I am not.
So
it is not. Maybe if they had some protein, that would be an incentive for me. They had that giving that out. But it's a great place to learn because that's where I learned a lot. My sister would drag me to county and state convention when she was a delegate, and I remember especially going to state convention. I didn't like state convention. It felt very like
you need to come back and take a shower.
Yeah.
After all of that.
Like there was just a lot of like puffing up and a lot of like I could just feel that words and principles were not connecting. So I didn't like it, but I went and I was really happy to be there with you because she tends to like carry all of her stuff and then she'll just walk everywhere carrying her stuff, her water bottle, her bag, her coat, her everything. And I just was, give me your stuff so that you can so you can really listen to what these candidates are saying because she's representing her entire precinct. And it just became more to me. Like you hear, like it might not mean anything to hear all of these words, but when you go and you're in the space and you can see it living, it means something different. And because we'd come back and we'd talk about it, and coming back to the home and you look at your family and you think, man, I really want to do a good job of this because this is going to impact my loved ones, my neighbors, my community directly. And so it's not just like a title or like, oh cool, I'm delegate or whatever, but it's something to treat, to me, like even sacred. And I don't know that it's really seen that way anymore. But that's convention. Yeah.
Convention. And then you have, so at convention, there are many state senators that are running. There are many, state auditors. There are many county commissioner, candidates. But at the conventions, they help to narrow it down to the people that will be on the ballot for the primaries. If they can't get it down enough, then there'll probably be a primary. but at least to whittle it down to get to the main candidates who will represent, who will be on the general ballot in November.
Yeah.
Also, if you are if you are young, like if you're 17, if you're going to be 18 by the time that the November election comes, please come to caucus night. You will be able to vote.
Well, and also, yeah, you can register to vote even before. You can register to vote as a 16-year-old now in the state of Utah. Yeah, they just won't get a ballot.
Oh, wow! I did not know that.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to vote in the general election this coming November, and if you are 17 years old, going to be 18 by the election in November, come to caucus night and know that you'll be able to vote.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
There's something else. I'll probably remember it
After
tonight.
the fact.
Yeah. But I just really want to put a plug in for, like, just, I guess, talking about this. I don't want to be one of those people that is like, this is, just giving you information and then go do it. To be honest with you, I don't want to be one of those people who are like, get out there and serve, get out there and vote. That's up to you.
Yeah.
Whether you vote, whether you register, whether you even care about any of these things. But I would just ask you to sit down and think about what things you do care about. Like a question that I'm kind of always talking about with my siblings is, what is a common cause that would cause people to gather, gather in union, and to petition their government to, hey, listen to us. We're here and we care. We have family and neighbors and community that we care about. And I think this whole process can come across as being very like posturing, like, oh, this group of people do that because they know so much. No, honestly, I don't.
If you think we know so much,
yeah,
no, we don't. We're
know,
not even close.
What we're really good at is asking questions.
Yeah.
We ask a lot of questions, and a lot of my questions get thrown back in my face because it just seems so obvious, but it's not so obvious. And because of those questions, I have found myself here, and I have found myself caring, because it is a cause that I want to gather to, and I want to gather my community to, and to gather not just in like, I think that there's a difference between people gathering just with bodies. Like, you can gather a lot of people just in bodies, but gathering people with a common cause, with that one heart, one mind, which is also my dream. Like, that's the kind of battle I want to go to, that I want to support and nurture. And yeah, this has been a great learning experience for me. And my sister and I and my siblings and family invite you to the journey as well. So we hope to see you somewhere.
Yeah, come. Tuesday.
Ka Te Anu o Whalahi atu.
Ka Te Anu o Whalahi atu.